Blessed Advent, St. Luke's. This coming Sunday, we meet John the Baptist for the third Sunday in Advent. But in the portrayal of John in the Gospel of John, which is our gospel for this coming Sunday, he's really more John the Witness. Frederick Buechner is one of my favorite authors, and he wrote a book, it's in our library, called Peculiar Treasures, a Biblical Who's Who. And I want to read to you his portrayal of John the Baptist. Now, this book was written some 40 or 50 years ago, so there are some anachronisms in here, like the WCTU, Women's Christian Temperance Union. But the flavor of John the Baptist you really get from Buechner's portrayal. So here it is, John the Baptist according to Frederick Buechner. John the Baptist didn't fool around. He lived in the wilderness around the Dead Sea. He subsisted on a starvation diet, and so did his disciples. He wore clothes that even the rummage sale people wouldn't have handled. When he preached, it was fire and brimstone every time. The kingdom was coming all right, he said, but if you thought it was going to be a cup of tea, you'd better think again. If you didn't shape up, God would give you the axe, like the elm with the blight, or toss you into the incinerator like what's left over after you've lambasted the good out of the wheat. He said being Jewish wouldn't get you any more points than being a Hottentot. And one of his favorite ways of addressing his congregation was as a snake pit. Your only hope, he said, was to clean up your life as if your life depended on it, which it did, and get baptized in a hurry as a sign that you had. Some people thought he was Elijah, come back from the grave, and some others thought he was the Messiah, but John would have none of either. I'm the one yelling myself blue in the face in the wilderness, he said, quoting Isaiah. I'm the one trying to knock some sense into your heads. One day, who would show up at Jesus? John knew who he was in a second. You're the one who should be baptizing me, he said. But Jesus insisted. And so they waded out into the Jordan together, and it was John who did the honors. John apparently had second thoughts about him later on, however, and it's no great wonder. Where John preached grim justice and pictured God as a steely-eyed thresher of grain, Jesus preached forgiving love and pictured God as a host at a marvelous party, or a father who can't bring himself to throw his children out even when they spit in his eye. Where John said people had better save their skins before it was too late, Jesus said it was God who saved their skins. And even if you blew your whole bankroll on liquor and sex like the prodigal son, it still wasn't too late. Where John ate locusts and honey in the wilderness with the church crowd, Jesus ate what he felt like in Jerusalem, with as sleazy a bunch as you could expect to find. Where John crossed to the other side of the street if he saw any sinner heading his way, Jesus seems to have preferred their company to the WCTU, the Stewardship Committee, and the World Council of Churches rolled into one. Where John baptized, Jesus healed. Finally, John decided to settle the thing once and for all, and sent a couple of his disciples to put it to Jesus straight. John wants to know if you're the one we've been waiting for, or whether we should cool our heels a while longer. And Jesus said, you go tell John what you've seen around here. Tell him there are people who have sold their seeing eye dogs and taken up bird watching. Tell him there are people who've traded in aluminum walkers for hiking boots. Tell them that down and out have turned into the up and coming, and a lot of deadbeats are living it up for the first time in their lives. And 3 cheers for one who can swallow all this without gagging. When they asked Jesus what he thought about John, he said, they don't come any better. But when the big party up there really gets off the ground, even John will look like about 2 cents by comparison. Nobody knows how John reacted when his disciples came back with Jesus' message. But maybe he remembered how he had felt that day when he'd first seen him heading toward him, and his heart had skipped a beat when he heard himself say, "Behold the Lamb of God, who taketh away the sins of the world." And maybe he remembered that one coming toward him through the tall grass at the riverbank and put it together with what they'd told him about the deadbeats and the aluminum walkers. And John decided he must have been right the first time. See you Sunday.